This is exciting. There are people watching us.
Hello, people.
Hello.
TJ
I just realized I never shared it.
TJ's here. TJ, share this. Go ahead and share this. We'll wait before we get into any discussion of anything. This is what you get if you watch the live show.
What's
man, I gotta log into Facebook.
TJ is sharing the show. Hello, we have 2 viewers.
Where do you see where the viewers are?
I don't know if you can see it.
I can't see it.
It tells me.
Well, I'm not the big boss.
I'm not the boss.
My name's not Machad.
I'm not the boss.
You're not the boss?
This is dude, this show is like a collective.
You don't pay the cost to be the boss?
No, I don't.
Pay the cost to be the boss? Look at me.
We got
what
4 viewers.
All right. Bad mother.
Oh, God.
What? James Brown. I feel good. I feel better now. I feel better than James Brown.
You all set, TJ?
Fidel Castro sprayed mustard gas from his cigar and neutralized the lot of them. God. Was not was? You've heard that one.
Oh, God, you all set, TJ?
Hey, you can go ahead and start.
All right. Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad from the wild woods of Central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we discuss wintertime practice and dry fire practice. So as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network, and please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. I actually need a really good gun cleaning mat. Weird. Have you seen the ones they have there over at Patriot Patch?
No, but I can go look.
You should go look. They're pretty awesome.
I actually just do the. I've got the old bathroom towels that the wife doesn't want anymore. Those are my cleaning mats.
You wait Ryan, though. You'll accident. Yeah.
What do you need a cleaning mat for? You just send them to Chris, right?
That's not very. It's not very nice. Yeah. Chris Rhodes over at Bayside Custom Gun Works always makes fun of me because I sent him a gun and he was like, "Oh, you haven't cleaned this in about since you bought it." So, yeah, no. But did you get there, Weird?
I'm there. Yeah, I see. I'm looking at the AK. It's even got the stock with the oil bottle in it,
and it's like mouse pad material.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like giant mouse pads that are beautifully made.
Super long.
Yeah.
Ooh, and they got the Luke 2236. I like that one.
So definitely go check that out, patriotpatch.co. And also shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So, TJ, it has been a long time since we've had you on the show. You were one of the first people. I think you and Weird are actually probably the 2 first really big supporters. Matt Hoffman as well. And there were a few others that I'm probably missing. But, I remember you were one of the first regular guests on the show.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really call it regular because it's been a really long time.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. But back in 2013, and it's 2018. So
the takeaway message is that TJ's not regular.
Weird. You're probably the most regular guest now.
Oh, definitely.
I think. Am I a guest? Yeah.
I don't think you're a guest. I'm pretty sure.
I think we've constantly had this discussion because it was kind of a seamless transition from guest to semi-regular guest to full-time co-host.
Drove to Louisville with you and shared a hotel room.
Yeah. Are you ever going to be able to get to go to another NRA meeting, or is the
maybe if they move a little closer?
If it's in Maine one year, you'll go.
I drove to Louisville. I would drive pretty far.
TJ, what he's trying to say is just like getting his 03 FFL. He's a little girl and he's scared of flying with a firearm because you've never flown with a firearm in your entire life, have you?
Nope.
No,
because the first year TJ made it easy. He picked me up at the airport in Nashville and he brought me the Car 380.
Yeah, that was fun.
Though
And
actually,
then Grant made, well, actually Grant didn't make fun of you, but Grant, you and me were walking down a side street in Nashville. And I was like, hey, Grant, isn't this funny? TJ's got himself a Makarov and it's loaded with buffalo bore hollow points. And he was like, well, I don't usually approve Sammy, but that's kind of a cool combination. I think that's what he said.
wait, it wasn't a Makarov. It was a
CZ82.
CZ82.
CZ82, yeah, sorry. Good.
But was
Common confusion.
But it's in Makarov.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's
Buffalo,
what he.
and Buffalo Bore makes a 9x18 round.
They did probably 6 or 7 years ago when I bought it.
They probably
It was Buffalo. Yeah, I was going to
even
say.
if they don't make it anymore, they've still got boxes of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the demand's all that high, despite the fact that it is a very nice round.
Crossbreed is making a CZ82 holster now.
Nice.
That CZ82 was, I had never really handled one, and I was like, man, this is actually kind of nice.
Though actually, wouldn't it fit in any like open front PPK holster?
I've never handled one.
Because I don't, yeah, because I don't think, yeah, because it's pretty much a Walther PP, like all the way up to like the back of the trigger guard.
Yeah. Well, I meant for like a inside the waistband. I had a friend actually make me a hybrid holster whenever I got it, and I made a little Kydex taco holster that I used for a little while, but neither one of them were terribly.
I thought you ankle carried that while wearing shorts.
That would be a gigantic
TJ,
ankle carry.
do you remember us parking like 4 miles away from downtown Nashville and walking down
we had to walk across a bridge?
We tried when you and I showed up early and we tried to scout out locations to have the listener meet up. And then we had to go to the range for the block event.
We parked in that shady parking lot, and I was like, I'm gonna cover all the luggage in the back with this blanket.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. It's too bad we didn't have the camera like we did for the Louisville trip, but
though actually, to be fair, when talking about traveling to the NRA show, honestly speaking, there is a little, if you really don't want to fly with a firearm, there is a little bit of herd immunity you can deal with. Like I remember we were walking through the convention hall and I mean back when I first started going, my first year was I think 2010, and you didn't see like anybody carrying there. And like now that's completely changed. Like everybody's carrying, there's people open carrying and all that. And my overall statement is like, if somebody starts some business here, I'm just going to hit the deck because my ammo is expensive. I'm just gonna, if some terrorist decides that they want to take out some NRA members, they're going to whistle when they hit the ground. They're going to have so many holes in them.
Whistle like a Nerf football.
Yeah, like a wiffle ball. That wiffle ball. And yeah, so I mean, you could deal with the herd immunity and also, I mean, if you Miguel over at Gun Free Zone loves like using the Crime Stopper app, and he grabs data from like the previous 2 weekends and then the weekend of the NRA show, and like the criminals just stay home. They're just like, you know what? Today's not worth dying for. I'm gonna let these guys who are gonna say, you know what? No, when you say give me your wallet, I'm gonna let those guys deal it, and I'm not gonna do any smashing any car windows because the city population just went up by 10% and they all are carrying guns. No, it's not worth it to me.
I just want to say hello to the few people here over on Listening Live. Diesel, Matthew, and Walrus. Hello. Say hello, everybody. TJ, they're glad to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks for being glad that I'm here.
Well, I guess someone's glad that Babyface is back.
Oh God. No, don't worry. When Jeremy comes up to you and grabs your face, like hugs you, like you look like a pixie, and then like picks me up and chokes me out. There's a picture somewhere. Was that the first year? Was that the year that? Yeah, no, that was the year that you were there.
I took the picture of him choking you out.
Yeah, because you were like, okay, no, wait, keep going. Keep going. I almost got it.
I made sure to snap the picture when I saw the fear in your eyes.
Yeah. So weird. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing okay this week.
Have you done anything with firearms?
No, I've like this weekend is going to be like my first weekend in the state of Massachusetts. I have been traveling like crazy. So
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
what to be traveling?
To be away from the state of Massachusetts.
It is nice. I was in Florida this weekend and it was like 80 degrees. And you sent me the picture of you hanging out with Ian, and I was like, oh, I'm in the pool outside.
And then you came home to snow and puke.
Though, and the day one, my daughter like is poking, where she's like, I want to go for a walk. It's nice out. I said, hey, let's go for a walk. And there's a little pond that there was an alligator in last time. I wanted to see me a gator. And there was one of these plants with like the colorful leaves. And so she was like picking leaves off this little bush. And next thing you know, she goes, ah! And she's covered in fire ants.
Oh, geez.
So she's got all
so
sorts.
You pulled out your ankle gun and you shot the ants.
No. I brushed the ants off and got bit myself. And I don't think, since I think, Ryan, you're like me. You must be like me, being from Maine. We don't have fire ants in Maine, and you don't realize like how nasty they are.
Yeah, the ants we have are like the big black ones.
Yes, those are called carpenter ants.
Yeah,
and they'll bite, and you'll feel it when they bite. But no, these things. So fire ants, they bite, and their bite has formic acid in it, so their bite stings, and they have a stinger like a wasp. Huh. And you get and you get covered in blisters.
This is what happens when you have a biologist on the show.
It looks like a bright red pimple. I've been eaten alive by many of those in my life. Yep.
So I got to spend like the first half of this week I was in Florida. The second half of this week I get to explain to all of her teachers that if she happens to take her socks off and you get absolutely horrified by her feet, that's fire ants.
So, hey, Weird or TJ, did you know that you could fill wood cracks with sawdust and wood glue?
I do now.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a good friend of mine who was a knife maker, he used to do the exact same thing with he would use ivory. He had a little bit of elephant ivory he's from India, and so he brought some elephant ivory over when he first came over, but he also had like he would get a ton of like walrus ivory. And when he would cut the pieces of ivory to make stocks for knife handles, he would always save the sawdust from it, and he would mix it with wood glue to do exactly that. He'd make little ivory filler compound.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, I was working. I had a couple of pieces that I was using to try to make grips that had cracked, and the first place that I used it was on a guitar body that I tried to glue together with some pine boards. And I had this big crack in it, and I was like, man, there's no way I can fix that. How am I going to hide it? And so I used the sawdust from the pine boards and made like a wood filler, and it actually worked out.
Oh, I thought you would have said you went right for the JB Weld.
Yeah. So now I have some extra pieces of the same type of wood that I made the grips out of. So I'll try to like run them through the sander or something, get some sawdust, and then do the same thing, and hopefully you won't even see it once it dries and is sanded down and everything.
Just do the whole thing with Bondo and baling wire. You are in Maine.
And also, I got to meet up with my friend Ian from Forgotten Weapons. He was coming up to Julia's for the last auction. Julia's is closing up.
That's so sad. I mean, it's not. I guess it's sad. Sad's a good word for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's sad. I mean, it's a great thing to have up here. I definitely want to talk to Jim when he's up there, if I can see him up there at the next preview, and just thank him, because I mean, I've seen so many historic firearms up there, so many guns that I never would have ever been able to see, let alone handle. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you go to I don't know about how other auction houses are, but I know at least like Rock Island and Julia's, they basically just lay the guns out on a table. And if you want to pick them up and check them out, and as long as you're gentle, I mean, it's fine. Some of them are behind glass, and some of them you do need to wear the white gloves to handle. But to be able to just pick up a piece of history, and I mean, I know it sounds like take a picture with it and stuff, but still, it's just like,
oh yeah.
I mean, that's a gun that you would never ever see again in your life, and what that firearm has been involved with. I mean, it may be a cool gun, yes, but when you think of what it may have seen throughout its life, it's just incredible.
Yeah, no, I get that. That was one thing. That's one thing I really miss was the first few years of the NRA convention that I went to. They actually brought. I don't know if they're doing it anymore. I haven't heard anything of it, but they originally would have pieces from the NRA Firearms Museum. And like one year, my favorite year was the year they brought movie guns in. So I got to handle the Dirty Harry Model 29 and the Beretta 92 used in both Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. How cool is that?
I mean, I don't know if it sounds weird or anything, but it's just like, for instance, a couple of auctions back, they had a revolver and a few other things that were recovered from the battlefield at Little Bighorn.
That's kind of cool.
Like, they couldn't tell whose it was, but it was a Colt single action army that was directly traced back to being recovered from the battlefield after the battle.
I still think the coolest thing that I've seen come by you is the blown up cylinder that was owned by Elmer Keith.
Yes.
I mean, that is just such a piece of history, because that right there just tells the whole story of the 44 Magnum.
Well, and the thing is, I got to handle that, which is the thing that blows me away. Like when I was first able to go up there, I was able to have the glove on and like hold that thing. And you're looking at it, and it's like, oh my God, like there's still a cartridge case, an empty one in the cylinder. And then you have the blown off part. And it's just such an incredible piece of history. And you know where that came from. And the thing is, a lot of people, it's like, if you've seen the magazine articles, people have read about that before. And here you are holding that same exact thing in your hand.
And again, that's the reason why we first got the 44 Magnum and not something like the 454 Casull, because again, he blew up that cylinder because he was pushing a 45 Colt a little too hard, and the cylinder gave way. But he knew that the same gun in 44 Special, he could do a whole lot more because there's a little bit more meat on that cylinder wall.
So Weird, what's your drink segment for this week?
So I am just having the old mainstay, which is the dry martini. Again, for those that aren't familiar with my preferred recipe, it is 4 parts dry gin, 1 part dry vermouth, and right now I have a couple of drops of Fee Brothers celery bitters. And it is really good. I had another celery bitters a long time ago that was, I think, was it Dutch? It might have been Dutch bitters, celery bitters, and that one was kind of obnoxious. It tasted more like it was just cardamom with maybe a hint of celery to it, or all that. This one is definitely spicy. There's more going on than just, it doesn't really taste like celery. It's got a little bit of bitterness to it, but it's more spicy. But it's really well done. I've also got a I forget what company does it, but I've got a celery shrub, and essentially the difference between a shrub and a bitter is they're pretty much the same thing. They're interchangeable. Shrub is using vinegar as the essentially the vehicle that is infusing the flavors into. A bitters is using alcohol. But so I've got it in a dry martini. Awesome. If you like margaritas, I think this was a great bitters to add a little notch to your margarita. And again, if you're into cocktails and you're not using bitters, give it a strong thought, especially with just go pick up a bottle like Angostura and Angostura, the classic Angostura and the Angostura orange bitters, and you will go a long way. Again, they don't change the drink. It's not like it's a completely different drink, but it brings it up a notch. It's like adding a little bit of add a little bit of spice to your drink.
Yeah,
Celery.
It's kind of funny you say it doesn't necessarily change the drink, but it does have like a different just adds little notes and stuff, because I have a couple different bitters, just the basics. But I tried a Sazerac a few months ago, I think it was, and I didn't have a sprayer, so I just kind of rolled the absinthe in there and dumped out the excess. And I bought a sprayer, and spraying it completely changes the flavor of the drink somehow. I don't understand exactly how that worked, but it was a lot better with the sprayer.
Well, probably because you're getting a little bit better coating. Right. And I kind of don't like, I see people that do the rinse technique, which is where you pour a little bit of something. I was watching a clip of a martini being made, and the guy put like a quarter of an ounce or or a half ounce of dry vermouth into a martini glass and swirled it around and essentially got all the sides of the glass wet and then poured out the excess. And I just don't know if that works as well. I just like using just add a small amount, just use a quarter of an ounce or an eighth of an ounce and just use it as a regular ingredient, or get a dasher bottle and dash it in like you're using bitters. Because I just feel like when you pour out the excess, I just think you pour out more than you think. It does leave a trace of it, but I just like to add it in. But the sprayer, it does that. It also gets it up in the air, so you're going to smell it a lot more. And of course, anyone who's gotten a horrible head cold knows that, like, when your nose is plugged and you can't smell, your sense of taste just goes out the window.
All
right. So with that, we'll head into the main topic: dry fire practice and wintertime training. So actually, TJ, you've had a little bit of wintertime yourself down in the south there.
What now? What is that?
You had some snow.
It was 87 today here, just so you know.
It was actually 60 here yesterday. So.
Oh wow, we actually had 2 snows this year, which is crazy because the last time it snowed was 2008. So it went 10 years and then 2 in 1 year.
Yeah, well, but we're talking New England weather here, where it was I think it was 72 degrees here in Massachusetts yesterday, and right now it is snowing.
Oh really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
Is it? It's not snowing here yet, thank God.
It's snowing here. It is just above freezing, I believe. Let me actually look at my weather app.
I just looked out my window. I was like, please don't tell me it's snowing. I need to go rake my roof.
It is 1 degree above freezing right now. It is 33 degrees according to my weather app.
Jeez.
So it's not sticking, thank goodness. Like there's nothing worth shoveling.
Yeah, if I get any listeners that want to come up with some flashing on the roof on my side of my dormers, they can do that. That'd be awesome.
Oh,
I hate that.
But do you have ice and water shield down there? Do you know?
Oh yeah, it's there, but it's not enough apparently.
Oh, I just realized. Of course, now this is like totally off topic. This is Handgun Radio. We're going to be talking about.
We've gone so far off a tangent. But we've only been in here a few seconds.
Another cheap fix is those little heating coils that you put up on your roof.
Oh, those are going to be up there this summer. You bet your ass they'll be up there.
There's someone down the street from my house that's got those, and I was walking by and I looked up at that and I went, oh man, I got to tell Ryan about that. So I've told you.
Don't worry. I'll be up there as soon as I can putting those up. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. But so wintertime, I don't have access to my range. I probably do now, but I didn't for most of the wintertime. I do have another video going up, a tabletop review on the K-frames that I have, but nothing really like range video. So when you have that restriction, it's important to still be able to practice. And TJ and I have been friends for quite a while, so haven't, Weird and I. But TJ, I feel like has always been the person like bringing to my attention, oh yeah, check this out. I did this dry fire thing and I have this target thing. And TJ, you were one of the first people who had those laser light cans and the target trainer and stuff and a Cert pistol. And also you and I are part of a group on Facebook, the 1,000 Rounds of Dry Fire, where we see people who have modified targets and made them like smaller. So they'll take like IPSC targets and shrink them down to mimic different distances. And I'm pretty sure, actually, Weird, we've seen our friend Sean from Gunblog Variety Cast doing the same thing in his garage.
Yep.
Through his...
Yeah, I think Sean, if I happen to remember, he uses the scaled targets from Ben Steger's Pro Shop, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It's a competitive shooting geared place, so they're all
so Ben Stoker's the one who sells that stuff?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there's plenty of sellers, but I think he's the kind of the big guy in that arena.
He was one of the first. Sean was one of the first people, I think maybe Claude too, the first people I saw using those.
Yeah, Claude, it's actually something I never thought about until Claude mentioned it. He is incredibly adamant about using real targets. I mean, like actual dedicated targets when you're dry firing, rather than, some people that just use the light switch or the knobs on the stove or something like that. And Claude's, I guess, argument or point to that is, what's to stop you to, you walk by the light switch one day and you're like, I'm going to get a couple dry fire reps and just draw your carry gun and blow a hole in your wall. So which makes perfect sense. You don't want to mess up like that. So I think having actual targets set up that you can take down, put away to where you kind of know your practice is over is a really good idea.
I guess so. I mean, I my argument would be that I'm, I know We Like Shooting was doing for a while is, do you press check? And I'm one of those, like, I press check like constantly. Like I'll be a point where like, oh, I'll change my pants. Like it'll be like, again, we talk about New England weather, wake up, wander around with a, pair of long pants on and realize, oh man, it's gotten hot. I'm going to change into a pair of shorts, take the pocket holster out of my pocket, lay it on the bed. It's sitting there looking right at me. I take my pants off, I put my shorts on, and before it goes back in, I'm going to press check because, I've known friends that have said, I'll be damned. I took my gun out the other day and I went to go clear it and no round popped out. I'd happened to have never chambered a round, before the last time. So I'm one of those guys I'm always verifying my chamber condition. It's, when you're doing it overall, it's, what you're going to get. There are no magic goblins that sneak rounds into your chamber, but you're going to be checking your chamber of the, I'm pretty sure I am positive this gun is unloaded, but I'm going to look into the chamber to make sure it's unloaded. And I'm positive that this gun is loaded. So I'm going to draw back the slide just enough to witness brass and make sure that it's loaded. So, I'm not saying that accidents can happen. Accidents can always happen, but I'm always, keen on, I'm always going to verify the condition of my gun, whether it be I'm putting it in my holster to use it to defend my life, or, I'm sticking it in a bedside safe for my, for my bump in the night gun. I'm always going to verify, when I change the batteries in my safe, the guns have to come out to change the batteries. And before they go back in, I'm confirming the loading status on them. So that's just something to be said. I like having some, fastidious steps to make sure that you always know what condition your gun's in.
Right. Definitely. I could agree with that. Just make sure you're not flippant about it. Like I said,
also, if I'm going to be doing like a serious dry fire regime, I throw a snap cap in the chamber, not because I don't, I've got a couple of guns that need snap caps and probably a few more that I don't know. I don't know if a snap cap's necessarily necessary, but I don't like to dry fire them. But for the, all of my social guns, as you say, they've all got firing pins that are, you could dry fire them all day long. There's no problem. But and I've actually got some of those, I forget even the company that makes them, but those like bright orange plastic dummy rounds. So they're not even really snap caps. People say that you shouldn't really dry fire on them because you'll deform the bottom and it really won't do anything. But for a gun that you can dry fire just fine, it's not the end of the world. But if you've got a piece of plastic that is not that is filling up your chamber in your gun, there's not going to be a bullet in that chamber. So not only can you verify that, oh, look, there's a bright orange piece of plastic in my chamber, but also I know for a fact that a round is not going to sneak into the gun. So that's also a good extra safety level to put in, is when you unload your gun to start your dry fire regime, take that extra step and load something into the chamber that will make sure that your gun is completely incapable of going off.
So the Cert pistol, TJ, you've probably had the most experience with this. So why don't you educate us?
Yeah, I've had one for a couple years, and the Cert kind of does a couple things cool, and it does a couple things that I wish it could do better. Essentially it's a Glock 17 with a laser instead of a ammunition, and it actually has two lasers, like one on the top, one, I guess, where the barrel is, that you would line up to the sights, and then a lower one that's like a trigger prep, I think they call it, to where if you have any pressure on the trigger, it sets that other laser off. So you can watch somebody as they draw, and if you see that laser sweeping the floor before they get up to target, they know that their fingers on the trigger too early, kind of thing. And I think where it's valuable is it goes into that, it makes it like an additional step of safety, even if you're not intending on using the trigger, because it's a completely dead gun. You can't load real ammo into it, and it's just always there. You don't have to worry about unloading your gun, which I know if you like to dry fire often, you have to worry about either round setback or spending $1 billion on ammo recycling them. And it's kind of cool. I wish it had like a reciprocating slide, even just maybe not after every round, but for you to do like a rack, like a full reload kind of motion, but it doesn't. The slide's static. But I think it's a pretty valuable tool, I imagine, in my opinion, for dry firing.
Now, and you had I remember way back in the day, it feels like a long time ago, but you had the laser light can trainers. You actually brought them to the creepy house we stayed in.
The creepy house with the do not enter door.
Yeah.
And the New Orleans mobster that lived there.
Yeah. But the laser light can trainers, and those actually worked pretty well. I mean, aside from having to go back and set them up.
Right.
I mean, they may not be a total representation of what your firearm may be, but in terms of hand-eye coordination, they were a decent trainer.
Yeah, that is one thing about the laser. They have tons of people making targets now for different laser guns. I know Laser Light makes a bunch of them. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but I do know other companies make laser targets, and they'll react either whether it's just beeping, or they used to make the cans you're talking about where you'd shoot it and it would fall over, but I think they've replaced, what did I call it earlier?
The Ramblers or the Rumblers?
Rumbler. Yeah, I think it's a Rumbler can or something like that, which it just kind of vibrates on the table instead of falling over, which probably isn't quite as fun. I don't have experience with it, but probably not as fun. But at the same time, you don't have to walk over your entire living room to go stand it back up every time. So it's a trade-off, I suppose. But Laser Light has a ton of different laser targets.
Oh, but by the way, I just looked it up because I thought I'd heard about that. But Cert now, their original gun, the Cert Model 110 is a full size Glock, Glock 17, Glock 22 size gun. But they also have the Cert 107, and that is a full size M&P. So for people like me that the Glock just does not fit my hand. It does not point well for me. I wish it did. I got no problems with Glocks, but they point high. They have the M&P, which is more akin to just about every other gun on the planet.
Yeah, I guess that would be one complaint. An additional complaint, I suppose, is I'm so used to the Gen 4 and now my Lone Wolf 19 that I'm pretty sure the Cert was designed before the Gen 4s even came out. So it's that full size, full grip, 17 size. So I can't. I don't know. I have short little fingers and they don't quite line up with the trigger the way I would like. And I kind of wish they had the Gen 4 backstrap system or something on there. But that M&P one would probably be awesome because those are really good feeling guns. A friend of mine has one that
it looks like it's got the grip,
little grip swell backstrap thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's functional. I mean, it's got obviously they've got the bright red slide and trigger and all that, so you don't confuse it for a real gun. All they're saying here is the 107 model has functional features of the Smith & Wesson M&P. Kind of looks like it's got the removable removable backstrap that the M&P has. So I don't know. I'm sure someone will say on the Facebook page whether or not, because someone's got to have it. They're pretty popular guns. But yeah, it may even have the customizable back straps that the M&P has. So if you're a large backstrap person or a small backstrap person, you don't have to get just married to the medium.
Yeah, they also have now, I think they just came out with at the end of last year, the PP training pistol, which I think forgot what the pocket pistol model, which honestly looking at it, it's really hard to figure out what it's modeled after. It kind of looks like a Beretta Storm pistol, at least with the outlines, but it's supposed to emulate like a single stack 9mm. So if you wanted to, to practice with your pocket gun, because I know I don't, I primarily carry in the pocket, and then I'm training with a 17 size pistol, so it doesn't translate quite as well.
So have either of you ever had any experience with airsoft?
I have some. Actually bought a Gen 4 Glock 19 style airsoft that runs off of green gas, I think is what they call it, which is essentially propane with some kind of lube in it to lube the O-rings. And it's really cool.
I'm going to be the only nerd here and say that I had oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Smith & Wesson Combat Magnum with rounds you could insert the BBs into. I had a Glock 17 Gen 2 that would put a bruise on you, would almost make you bleed. All Springers. I never had any gas. I had a Steyr AUG Compact Electric Mini.
Of course.
I had a pump action shotgun that would also make you bleed. It would not bruise you. It would break the skin. Had a 1911, had a Desert Eagle. I'm pretty sure that's it. I think that's it.
Airsoft, because my mom won't let me have a real gun.
Well, my mom just wouldn't let me buy enough real guns. So I went to Airsoft when I could get something for $19. I'm like, I'll be fine. I mean, I was, 14, 13 years old at the time, but
yeah.
Yeah, the one benefit I see of the Airsoft is you can use it for new shooters. What I've done before, I had a couple friends come over. They were interested in learning to shoot, and I brought them over, showed them all the mechanics and all that. Kind of did a little short training session, I guess you could say. And then we went out in the backyard. Instead of taking them to the only range near us, which is a crowded indoor range, we went to the backyard and I set up a target and showed them exactly what the gun was going to do, let them shoot it and see exactly how it was going to act, except obviously minus 99% of the recoil.
Well, right. I mean,
but they were
exactly, you minus the recoil, you minus a lot of the safety issues with it, and you can teach them stuff like trigger control. It may not be the same exact trigger, but it's a similar concept.
Right. And then you don't have to, like if you're using a real gun, you don't have to reset it every time if you're using a striker fired gun, or go double action only if you're using a double single for training for dry practice.
Before we wrap this up, it's funny. I'm sitting here in my office, and to the left of me is a wall, and it has a bunch of dents in it. And the house that we bought was the house that I grew up in. And those dents are from me with my airsoft gun.
Yeah, I had plenty of shot up blinds in our in the house I grew up in.
I actually have the same one that's all shot up. I have to replace it.
I like the poetry of you wrecking your mom's house, being a jerky kid, and now you own you own your misspent youth.
Yeah, basically. That's
hilarious.
That's pretty much. Yeah, I can see the plaster on the wall from where I threw Chinese throwing stars I bought from a mail order magazine.
Oh man!
Into the wall. And then my penance was having to put spackle on the wall and paint over it.
Ryan, did you subscribe to Bud K back in the day?
I did, Bud K. Yes,
we probably had the same throwing stars.
That is exactly in the little vinyl pocket, the little Uncle Mike's pocket.
Oh yeah, man, that thing.
Yep. I think I still have them actually. Yeah, that was bad. Throwing stars, throwing knives.
We totally need to have a throwing star episode.
So actually,
we know everybody that you could do that with.
We had a fantastic listener question come up in the chat while we were talking. So this is from Nick X Dexterity. Since we are listening to Handgun Radio, I just bought a 686 Smith & Wesson, obviously,
good,
and love it.
Good choice, straight up.
It's a good choice. Yes, L frame, very nice.
Honestly speaking, I think all things be.
Let me ask the question first.
Well, I would take it over a Python. I'm just saying.
Really? Well, it's a Smith & Wesson Python. Is there any value really to a trigger job? I think the trigger pull is incredible as it is. Should I send it to a custom person and have them maybe smooth it out? Or
this is the perfect episode for that question. Oh my goodness, was this scripted? People are going to say this is scripted. Nope. I will say, no, the only trigger job you need to do, especially on a good Smith & Wesson revolver, such as a 686, is dry fire the bejesus out of it. And then maybe, but not necessarily, pull the side plates out and just clean the engagement surfaces on the sear. And that's all you need. Like, I mean, Ryan, you shot my 617.
Yeah, but you shot the bejesus out of that thing.
I shot the ever-loving bejesus out of it, and the trigger was awesome. And then
he says it wasn't scripted.
I shot the bejesus out of it so much that the gun went out of time. And note, like, wow. I've put at least 10,000 rounds through that gun, and I've dry fired the crap out of it. And it was not, I did not buy it new. It was a used gun. So who knows how many rounds have been through that gun. And it certainly wasn't, I mean, it's hard to say. It's a stainless steel 22. So, you know, it's really hard to abuse that gun hard enough to make it, you know, to make it look like it's been abused. So, but it was also not one of those, it was not one of the guns that came out of the case and went, oh my God, this is in the used case. I can't believe this. No. This gun definitely had been well loved. Not necessarily abused. So I don't know how many rounds this gun has through it total now, but yeah, it's a lot. But when I shot out a
video we did there.
Yeah. When I shot out of time, I did what everybody does. Send it back to Springfield. It went back to Springfield. They fixed it up beautifully. And in the meantime, they cleaned all the small parts inside of it because they had to take them out anyway. And the trigger pull went from really, really good to I will take the Pepsi challenge with any performance center gun on the trigger on this gun. The trigger is immaculate on it.
What do you think about him having like a friend who has an ultrasonic cleaning it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have a lot of experience with ultrasonics to know.
They do a decent job if you break the gun down.
Yeah, I mean, the big deal is just knock off the side plates, and when you do, just just clean the engagement surfaces. Just get because the bottom line is what's going to happen is as you dry fire the gun, you're just working the parts together, and you're just going to mate them together that much more. It's like when you hear about like, oh, if you buy a new car or a new boat engine, any sort of new motor, they'll say, don't rise it above certain RPMs for a little while to let it break in. Is essentially you want those pieces moving together, and the more they move together, the more they're going to mate together and run smoother and smoother and smoother.
Good gunsmiths don't aggressively grind surfaces. No. They polish and buff surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I just kind of thought about it earlier. We were talking about dry firing with real guns, and like Ryan said, it wasn't set up, and it just kind of tends to be feeding into itself here. But using revolvers for dry practice is incredibly useful because you have that real heavy trigger pull, and then when you go back to you have a 10 to 12 pound double action trigger pull, and you go back to a 4 to 6 pound single action or striker fire, it's like night and day, and it just makes your other shooting even that much better.
I overall just find that like if you're going to train, like if you can work a double action revolver into your training regime, I find that logging a lot of trigger time with a double action revolver improves everything else that you're going to do trigger time on.
Especially if you're using like mine's a Model 65 that just has the old trench and front notch sight or front sight. They don't have the target sights that a lot of Smith & Wessons have. So it's like if you can pick up those little bitty sights and that double action trigger pull, it can do wonders for your other shooting.
But yeah, to the answer to the user question, I would say save your money. Just do some dry fire practice and all that. And when you've pulled that trigger 1,000 times, whether there be a round, in front of it or not, either take the side plates off, or if you're like me and are horrified of the inside of a revolver, take it to an armor and just say, can you give this gun a detail cleaning? And
here's my suggestion: go buy 12 357 Magnum snap caps, buy a speed loader for it, sit there, pull the trigger 6 times, empty the snap caps out, use your speed loader with the snap caps, reload it, do it 6 more times, and then just do that over and over again for a half hour.
I'm 100% behind that, but I'd buy 38 special snap caps just in case you end up getting yourself like a 642 or anything like that, in case you get it, then you won't need to buy new snap caps if you end up getting a 38.
Real man carry 357.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about aluminum rounds here. The A-Zoom 357s don't recoil more than the A-Zoom 38s.
Oh man,
while I get it, I remember hearing a gamer talking about, trying to load up 38 short Colts high enough to make minor power factor in, I can't remember if it was IDPA or IPSC. The idea being that those 38 short Colts will unload and eject just that much faster out of their gamer gun that it might produce an advantage. And this person's a really good shooter. And so maybe he's right. For him, for me, it wouldn't make a lick of difference. And for the average person, whether you're putting 38s in your speed loaders, or in my case, my speed strip, and definitely if you carry speed strips as your reload, you 110% need to practice with those speed strips, because they absolutely work, but there is a little bit more of a learning curve than a speed loader, or jamming a fresh magazine into a semi-auto. So practice with your speed strips, and ideally practice with your speed strips with snap caps, because you don't want to practice with your speed strips with live rounds.
Yeah, they call them both. They both have speed in the name, but those speed strips are almost anything but. I guess versus loading from a dump pouch. But
yeah, well,
if you practice with them, you can get pretty quick.
Yeah,
two at a time.
Yeah, my friend JG, he put up on his on his YouTube channel. I don't know if it's still up or not, where he had, I think he was using his 360 J frame, but he did a reload of it using a 5-shot speed loader and using 5 rounds loaded into a speed strip, and I think it was a half a second difference. It was a half a second slower on the speed strip.
To me, in basically in every discussion I have with people on the speed strip, because they've asked me, I've had people ask me before, you carry the speed strip, you carry the speed loader, and it's like the speed loader, you get all of them in there at once and you're back in action. With the speed strip, it's flatter, it's easier to carry, it's more concealable, but you may only be able to strip 2 at a time in there. If you're ever in a situation and you've emptied your revolver, don't worry about loading it up to full capacity if you're hiding behind something and the person's coming up on you. Get 2 or 3 rounds into it, put the cylinder closed, and get back in action.
Yep.
If you can only strip 2 rounds off that speed loader, I mean, you got only 2 rounds, but don't sit there and have your head down and not be paying attention to your surroundings and who's coming up on you, trying to reload the gun to full capacity.
Yep. And again, even if, and where those rounds go isn't all that important. If you put 2 rounds into a 5 or a 6 shot cylinder, just pull the trigger. You'll get to them.
Yeah.
It'll find them. It's not going to get lost.
Right. So, TJ, you had a link there before we wrap up. What was that thing from SHOT Show?
Yeah, we were talking about the Cert pistol earlier, and this is kind of, I guess, an improvement on the Cert concept. It's called, what do they call it? The Laser Shot Sim 17. So you can assume what gun it's based off of. It has a big old 17 on the side, and it's very obviously shaped like a Glock. But basically, it does what I had mentioned earlier, and it adds the slide functionality to a laser training pistol. So it doesn't reciprocate on firing, but you can reload and rack the slide, lock the slide to the rear manually and all that. And I think it's just pretty cool. I guess. Do
they have an MSRP on that?
Design. Yeah, it's $399, so it's pretty much double the Cert. So it's kind of disappointing. I was hoping it would be a little closer to it, but I mean, it's a lot of aluminum machining. They essentially made a whole gun that just isn't functional. So I kind of get the price, but
at the last NRA show, I believe they were selling Cert pistols for, I believe it was $99.
Oh wow! I bought mine for about $200, and that was a deal.
I almost bought one, but I was flying with 2 guns in my small travel case, and so there was no way I could fit an additional full-sized training gun into it, and I was just horrified that TSA was going to take some sort of issue with my plastic gun. So,
yeah, I was actually curious about that the other day. What gun-shaped objects in luggage? I wonder how that goes, because I think somebody was giving away a patch at SHOT Show that was a full-size 1911, but it was a Velcro patch. But you send that thing through an X-ray machine, and it looks like a 1911 just loose in your bag.
Yeah,
I would feel weird with that in my carry-on.
Or the bottom line is no matter what's happened. I mean, the one big thing that you can say about airport security is it's not consistent at all.
Right.
So you might go through one. I mean, I've known so many people, like the number is huge, of people who have gotten to their destination and were unpacking their bag and found a knife, a pocket knife that they had in the, that had found its way into the bag in their carry-on luggage.
Oh, wow.
So they had a pocket knife on the plane and it was not discovered, or someone who even, I believe, if I remember correctly, someone I know, flew to their destination and then was flying back, and somewhere in one of the smaller pockets there was an ammunition magazine in their bag, and it got caught on the way back. So you can't trust, just because you did it and it worked for you, or even you talked to somebody at a security office and they said it's totally fine, doesn't mean that it's going to be totally fine the next time around.
Excellent. So with that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, and be sure to visit the Firearms Insider. Be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube, and also whenever we have these live shows, if you want to join the chat, I want to thank all the people who have chatted with us throughout the course of the show. We have a few different people there, and one of them we answered one of their questions, or tried to answer. So TJ, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was glad I remembered. I almost forgot about it.
Hopefully we can do something like more frequently, because I mean, if you go back and listen to like Handgun Radio was like 26, 27 maybe. Like there were a bunch of different episodes. Yeah, it was that early. Wow. It was way early.
What number are you on now?
194 is this one.
Wow. It's been a while.
I'm curious. Hold on. Let's see what
Ryan Googles.
Let's take a walk through time.
Handgun Radio 001, published on July 17th, 2013.
Wow. That's almost my birthday. A few days after.
Weird. Should I play this?
Oh God.
Is it a bad idea? Should I do it?
It's a bad idea, so you should do it.
All right, both of you be quiet so we don't have any feedback. Oh God. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of Handgun Radio. As I said before, my name is Ryan Machad, and I will be hosting this podcast. Okay, that's enough of that. We're done.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was so uncomfortable. I can't listen to anymore.
Now, was that your pilot, or was that the?
That was the pilot. Episode? That was episode 1. So that was July 17th, 2013. So look at how far we've come.
What were the topics of that riveting episode?
Backup guns.
Nice.
But it was just me, so I just sat there talking about backup guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the story of that. Ryan was like telling Jake, "You guys should talk more about revolvers," and he said, "Here, you do it."
No, Jake made me come on Gun Guy Radio.
That's right.
He was like, "Why don't you just come on Gun Guy Radio and talk about it?" And I was like,
I heard that episode of Gun Guy Radio, and I went, "This guy's from Maine. Listen to that accent. Oh man, this is my people." So I tuned into that very first episode of Handgun Radio, and I thought it was nice enough that I went, "Hey man, I'd like to be on your show."
and
unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that you would never let me go.
Yeah. Well, kind of the same thing with TJ. Like the minute that I made the Firearms, the Handgun Radio discussion group, I was like, "Hey, you're an admin. No discussion." So you get to deal with it.
That thing's been running for a while now too. A lot of cool stuff goes on there.
Yeah, especially when Daniel posts stuff.
Oh God.
So daily, multiple times daily. Daniel posts some fun stuff.
Oh my God, yeah. So Weird, where can people find you?
You can find me here and at my blog, which is weirdworld.com, and hopefully soon. Right now I'm struggling with some equipment issues as Ryan found out at the start of this show, but I will be launching a podcast probably in the next month or so is my guess. But Yeah. And you can find out about that at weirdworld.com.
All right. And until next week, have fun and safe shooting.